Well, hey guys, surprise debrief. So I'm just going to give people a second to join. I know I didn't announce that I was doing this or anything. I don't even have a fancy thumbnail or anything like that. So I'm just going to give people a second here and hopefully some people join because I just spent, about an hour, a good hour and a half, maybe almost 2 hours. That was a good stream, man. Like 2 hours talking to a Groyper over on Nick's platform. And it was an interesting experience. I decided to do that instead of streaming today because I already streamed the lackluster debate earlier. And like honestly, like I was really hungry afterwards. I hadn't eaten all day and I went and I grabbed some lunch and I was just feeling a little cranky and I was like, I don't know what I want to stream at 5 o'clock. And so the Groypers have been like nagging me to go talk to them. And I kind of figure if I like throw them a bone every once in a while, they won't come and disrupt my stream like they did on Saturday. So I want to talk to this guy. He's a little bit older. Like I think that's like a relative term, but they're all so fucking young, man. They're all so fucking young. And I just wanted to do a little bit of a debrief about it and like my thoughts on it. And overall, my thought was like, God, they don't know anything. They don't know anything. And in some respects, I don't really feel like it's, like, necessarily their fault because they're young, and it's like, I the reason that we know as much as we do about what's going on in the world is that we stumbled upon it accidentally, and then we went down the rabbit hole of it, and so but not for a twist of fate, I might think the same things they do, so I can kind of understand it, but man, I have to say, I feel like I held it pretty well together, but that was not necessarily like he was fine. I'm not talking anything about the guy that I talked to and his name is Beardson. He seems like a nice enough guy. If you want to watch the stream, it's over on cozy.tv and you can look up Beardson and you'll find it in his replay section and all that. So I'm not shit talking him as a person, but god damn, like I was like not even 5 minutes into that stream because I was watching the chat the whole time. I knew what they were saying. It's like fat bitch, fat bitch, fat bitch. It's like all these things they seem to care about are like, it's I don't think there's any weight I could be that they wouldn't call me a fat bitch, honestly. And even if I was the skinniest bitch on the planet, they would still call me a bitch. And so it's like if it's not one thing, it's gonna be another. Um, but it was like part of me and by the way, I don't like I'm pretty immune to being called names at this point. Like I'm very used to being called a fat bitch on the internet. So words I never thought I'd say in my life before 4 years ago. But my point is that it well, yeah, this is true. This is true. Fat bitch was probably the nicest thing that was said. Yeah, that's it. But it wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. It was that just the complete here is my concern about the Groypers. There just seems to be a complete aversion to any information that does not adhere to their confirmation bias. And so part of me is like, I was like, like 5 minutes into that stream, I was like, this is a big goddamn waste of my time. You guys know there's like nothing I hate more besides probably kids being groomed on the internet than people wasting my time because I don't have enough time. Like there's so much stuff I want to do and I don't have enough time to do it all. And so when people waste my time, I'm like, go away. This is why I'm so quick to ban people on social media. It's why I'm so quick to ban people on my channel because if it's clear to me that you are not really going to be able to follow my content, if it's clear to me that you aren't interested in learning, if it's clear to me that you're just there to shitpost and cause problems, I don't wish you ill, man. Like, shitpost to your heart's content, but I don't have to see it and you don't have to waste my time. And so can we just acknowledge that, like, this is just not a good fit and we move on and all that? And so, like, 5 minutes into that stream, I was like, "This is a giant ass waste of time. I don't know about this." But I feel like I held it together pretty well, and I feel like I was able to counter pretty much everything Beardson said, and people who are actually interested in what's going on and know more than they do will understand exactly what I'm saying. They're just like the majority of that audience was like they not only are they not interested really in what's going on, they're only interested in hearing things that adhere to their view of the world. They just like they're not capable of understanding what's going on even if they're like interested in hearing it. So it's like there's a lot of people in that audience that just can't be reached, they can't be reasoned with. It's not a fruitful effort to really try because it's like, why am I gonna sit here beating my head against the wall, you know? If someone this is why I joke around sometimes about like you need an IQ of at least a 100 to be able to understand my content. You need an IQ of at least 100 to be in my audience. Like I joke about that, but it's also not a joke. There is just like, why would I beat my head against the wall trying to appeal to people who are not smart and just actually not smart enough to understand my content when I could be instead focused on people who want to understand it and who are open to understanding it and who are much more capable of grappling with the information, because what we do is a very intensive thing. It's like this is not something that's for everyone, and it has to be okay that it's not something for everyone. And there are just people that it's not for. And it's like it felt like most of the people that were watching that, hang on, I need to take a drink. Oh gosh. Ah. I had this fruit fly that's been flying around my office for like 2 days, and I think he just drowned himself in my cup of coffee. And I don't even care, I'm gonna be eating bugs anyway. So best wishes to him, I guess. Anyway. Oh god, there's another one, no! I left my lunch up here the other day, and now I'm paying for it, I'll tell you what, it's always like that one time. Anyway, um, let me look at some chats here. Rottweiler, the problem, Dr. K, is that it's not much about how much we can agree with them, but rather them not standing for anything else. It seems they use the Groyper trope to be obnoxious, young or not. I mean, I definitely think a lot of them take out their obnoxiousness on the internet. But it's interesting. I'm going to talk about that in a second because it's like, you know, after the stream was over, Beardson did a little 10-minute stream where he, like, debriefed, and he was, like, much more boisterous and much more bombastic and like, "No, I didn't agree with anything she said," and and he was like it was like he was hanging with his bros, and it was like he would never dare say things to my face that he would say in front of his friends. And isn't it funny that he thinks that he's just among his friends when a woman's not on the stream with him? It's kinda like these guys that, like, they talk a big game with their bros, and then they get around the girl, and they just don't know what to do. It's like these are boys who don't know what to do with girls. They're incels, right? They don't know how to navigate women at all. And so it is kinda funny. It's like they're so obnoxious when they're amongst their friends, but, like, a girl comes in and it's like a hush comes over to the crowd. Anyway, let me see, there were some other chats that I wanted to look at. Beardson could never let go of his preconceived notions about the left's use of racially tinged language to hear what Carlin was saying about capitalism and private property. Listen, there were a lot of ideas that I talked about on that stream that this may have been like the first time that these people had ever been introduced to any of these ideas. And so it makes sense, right? If this is the first time that you've ever been introduced to these ideas, it's going to sound a little crazy. Remember, like most of us, we've been watching I've been watching woke content and trainings and classroom exercises, et cetera, on this channel for over 3 years, like, religiously, at least once a week. A year and a half ago, we started focusing highly on far left socialist content, which was the natural evolution of what we were doing because it was where all these trainings were coming from. A lot of you guys are very used to these ideas. We've grappled with them a lot. We've grappled with how the left presents them. We've had to work our own way through it. Many of you have learned a completely different language right alongside with me. You have to remember that the people that I just talked to, these are very, very new ideas now that they have never heard of before. And so you have to go back and we all learned these ideas slowly and gradually over the course of just consuming way more of this content than is reasonable for people to consume, right? Um but we have to bring along people with us, and I think the reason that I stayed on and started and kept just focusing on the ideas and all of the ways in which they're wrong was because amongst all of the shit posting in the chat, amongst all of the calling me fat and all these other things, whatever they did, I'm sure there were people who were listening. Maybe it's only one or two. Maybe it was only one or two, but maybe seeds were planted with those one or two people, and maybe those people will come and join us for a Socialism Saturday. Maybe those people will just start paying attention to things in a different way. And that's really all we can do. I don't wanna be at war with the Groypers. The Groypers are the very last audience I wanna be at war with because they're a giant pain in the ass. And I don't really think they want to be at war with me. It's kinda like, you know what it is? It's like, and I'm gonna go through the chat, guys, at some point, and I'll answer questions in the chat. I'm way behind in the chat right now because 'cause I've just, I answered a few and I've just, stopped looking at it, but if you wanna ask questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Um, you know what they're doing? It's very playground. It's like they're all picking on the girl. And they're picking and they're picking, and it's not that they hate. I don't think they hate me. I don't think they're calling me a fat bitch because they hate me. I think it's playground stuff. They're picking on me. That's actually not necessarily a bad thing when you're dealing with children. That's how they express their love in some respects. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that funny? Um so I have to right now I don't think they dislike me necessarily. They might dislike the things I say. It might make them they might not like it because it doesn't affirm their confirmation bias, whatever. But I don't want to be at war with them, and I don't think they want to be at war with me. And I just don't see the value in. Literally all I want is for them to not disrupt my work. That was the big point I wanted to get across today, and I did get that across at the end. It's like we can play, we can banter. I don't mind coming and talking to you guys every once in a while. I don't mind talking to you about this. I'll even do it with you acting like fucking obnoxious hooligans in the chat, but just don't disrupt what I'm doing. Because once you disrupt something like Socialism Saturday, it throws a fucking wrench into something that's a really labor intensive thing, and I don't want it to be disruptive because it's what a lot of people in the community are supporting, and so I feel like I got that point across, and hopefully they respect my wishes, and if they don't, I'll just block all of them, which is not what I actually wanna do. It's not what I wanna do, but, at some point, I can understand, the pulling on the pigtails and stuff like that, playground games, they're picking on the girl because there's some sort of, affinity for the girl. And that's kind of nice and endearing in a weird and juvenile way, but, whatever. But as long as they leave my stuff alone, then that's okay. Let me see, I'm going through the chat, I'm way behind. Nick says, OG Nick. Sorry, OG Nick. The Groypers in that chat had nothing to say except to make fun of everything about you. What a waste. I mean, it would be nice. Well, that's their clubhouse, though. I was basically in their clubhouse, and they were acting as though I was in their clubhouse. And, you know, they're allowed to act like they want to in the clubhouse. I don't think it's a good look. I don't think it's productive. I think that they'll look back on it and be like, well, that was kind of stupid at some point, but, you know, they're young. They're young. Well, they had nothing of substance to say because they don't really understand the content like we do, Kino. They don't. I mean, even Beardson was like, I've never actually even paid attention to this stuff. And it's kind of like, yo, how can you possibly fight back against this if you don't know your enemy? And I hope I got that point across. I really like I hope I got that point across. Like, how can you possibly win if you don't know your enemy? They have and if you're playing the enemy's game, I feel like Beardson kind of like walked right into that because he just committed like we're gonna play this game, we're gonna play this race game, we're gonna play the 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 race game over and over and over again. And I'm like, bro, you're literally playing by the enemy's rules. And then when he was like, well, we can't play by the enemy's rules, we have to create our own game. And I was like, yes, exactly. Okay, I agree. Then why the ever loving fuck are you playing by the enemy's rules? Because you're playing you are literally doing the thing that you are saying you shouldn't be doing, but you don't know that you're doing the thing that you say you shouldn't be doing because you don't listen to them. I don't know. Let me scroll in the chat. Let me see what you guys have to say. They have no idea the type of content we've watched. It's like going into like it's like I know we're in our own little insulated space and we do our own thing, and the thing that we do is different from a lot of other people on the internet, and like we go into some weird fucking places, man. But it's always important to keep in mind that most people do not go into the places that we go into, and they don't know what we know. And it's not that they're stupid, and it's not that they can't learn, but, like, they just haven't done it, and it hasn't been presented to them as a possibility, and no one else is doing this. No one else is teaching this content like I'm teaching this content. But they haven't done the work like we've done it, that's for sure. I do think there was a lot of cognitive dissonance. Like the feedback that I got from a lot of people, like it all flooded into my DMs at the same time, was like there was a lot of cognitive dissonance, and I think the same is true with Beardson too. I think that Beardson definitely had a lot of cognitive dissonance where, like, again, and I understand it. Like I think this is I don't this is not like a knock on him. I think that this is true of people who are presented with like new ideas that they haven't considered before, and you have to allow time for those ideas to, like, percolate, right? So I guess my hope for today is maybe I've planted, like, a seed or 2, and maybe some ideas will percolate, and if they don't, they don't, you know? Thank you, Everyday Therapist. Everyday Therapist says, I will be citing Carlin in my next Substack article. Guys, please make sure you subscribe to Everyday Therapist. She explains how the Marxists talk in code so well, and I need to talk about that. Yeah, I was actually thinking on that stream, like there are so many new words that I need to make like a Marxist dictionary. I need to do a post on the Substack that's like a really quick down and dirty reference, like the Marxist dictionary and like the Marxist takeover timeline. Like, those are 2 posts. Maybe I can even bang those out tonight. That'd be pretty great. I did see you bot. Who is King? Kino. I didn't see Kino. I definitely saw you bot. Hang on. I definitely saw you. I didn't see Kino though. Oh, great. They were talking about doxing me. Isn't that nice of them? I mean, listen, man, let me just say it flat out for any Groypers who are watching right now, and I know that there are probably Groypers who are watching right now. If you ever want me to go back and talk to Beardson again, or talk to that other jackass, or talk to anyone, then doxing me is not actually the way to get me to do it. First of all, you assholes have already doxed me 19 ways from Sunday. So you doxing me again is not actually that scary. Just file another police report, man. Like I filed a bunch of them. Like I mean, but if you want to play nicely, doxing people is not the best fucking strategy, okay? Let's see. Yeah, how very nice of them. How very nice of them. Like this is the thing, and this is what I was trying to explain like earlier today. It's like Nick Fuentes' biggest liability is his own audience. It really is. Can you think of like how much like and it's just too bad. Like how many of their ideas are going to be just complete like never even considered because the audience is so horrible. Like, I'm kind of at the place right now, they wanna dox me? Okay, well, I don't have to support Nick in public anymore. I guess I don't have to support him at all, like, in private. Like, if you wanna dox me after I went out on a limb to support Nick, then I don't have to support him. And it's not like they have a lot of allies that are lining up to help them. And the next time Nick says something that's reasonable, well, I don't have to say anything. Lauren Chen doesn't have to say anything. We don't have to have his back. And so if they actually want people supporting him, then doxing is not going to be the best way to do it. You know? Let's see. I mean, listen, I've already been put through hell on the internet. Like, there is nothing that here's the thing. There is absolutely nothing that the Groypers can do to me that hasn't already been done. Oh, Phil, oh, they're talking about copyright striking my channel. Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Hang on. Let me look at what you just texted me, Phil. Let's see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I'm looking at the image that Phil just sent me a screenshot. Oh yeah, dox and copyright strike this fat hoe. See, here's the thing. There's nothing they can do to me that hasn't already been done to me before. And if this is a game that they want to play, then I don't have to support Nick publicly. I don't have to stream Nick's content. I don't have to talk about the fact that, like, I don't have to give Nick credit when he's right. I don't have to do any of those things. And they probably don't care about that. But based on what I've seen of Nick, he seems to like it when people have his back publicly. He talks about it on his show. So why would the Groypers want to actively disincentivize people from having his back publicly? I gain nothing by saying Nick Fuentes is right about this for reasons X, Y, B, and Z. I literally gain nothing. It does nothing for me. So why would I continue to do it just to be a good guy when I'm going to get doxxed and they're going to harass me and copyright strike my channel? There's nothing that they can do to me that that hasn't already been done. And so, the joke's on them. It involves consequences for them, not consequences for me. And if they disrupt my stream against my wishes, I'll just block them and it'll be done with. And I'll just block them all on Twitter and it'll be done with. And that's not what I want. It's not what I want at all. But I also feel like these are kids that like let's just be honest, many of them are stupid. Some of them are stupid because they're young and they're young, and when we're young, we're stupid. And some of them are just stupid and they will always be stupid. Okay? If we ever want them to kind of grow out of this era of stupidity, then we need to give them opportunities to do that. If all they want to do is be disruptive, then I can just block them and be done with it. But I have to ask, like, truly, is that really what they want though? Because they're the ones that all came and followed me on Twitter. They're the ones, I mean, a lot, like, I honestly haven't even been dealing with that much negativity from them on Twitter. And there are a whole bunch of them that are following me now and, like, responding to a lot of stuff I do, and I don't always I very rarely actually agree with the things that they say, but they're not being assholes about it. Sure, some of them came into the chat on Saturday and disrupted things, and we took care of that. And then I read them the riot act, and hopefully they don't do it again, but if they do, it's a really easy fix because it's like, okay, block, 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 interesting experiment, but we don't have to do it anymore. And the same thing with Twitter. But, like, why would they all follow me on Twitter and be nice? Why would they really pester me to go and talk to Beardson? Because they were pestering me to do that. Why would they do that if their only intention was to disrupt? It's kinda like when you have dumb people, if they don't understand what you're talking about right away, their inclination may be to fight you. And again, these are young people, right? So their inclination might be to fight me, but, like, people can never, if you don't offer the hand, then people can never take it, and I think a lot of people have these are kids, I'm just gonna call them kids, whatever. These are kids that a lot of people have written off. These are kids that a lot of people have dismissed, and I think they're used to being written off and dismissed, and maybe we should try something different. Maybe if we didn't write them off and dismiss them, some of them would come around, you know? Let me see, I'm just scrolling through the chat. I'm way behind where you guys are, but well, I mean, and this is something they really need to come around to. Like, this idea that they know their enemy, they have no fucking idea who their enemy is. This is a like they really don't. Like they all need to go learn how to play chess. Um but you know what? Here's the thing. It's like Nick even talked about this on the Alex Jones, like, I'm not even going to call that a debate. That was an interview. That was like an interview at best. But Nick talked about this is like the patterns that show up with how Israel responds to things. They always respond to things in the same way. You can see the patterns throughout history. Intellectually, at least Nick, and I don't necessarily I think that Nick is far smarter than his audience. I think Nick is far smarter than the people he surrounds himself with. Nick understands intellectually that you have to understand your enemy and you have to know the patterns in which they show up in the world. Otherwise, he wouldn't have talked about it on Alex Jones today. So they understand the concepts intellectually. It's just a matter of getting them to see that it is ridiculous to not apply those concepts to people who are not the Jews. Now they think everything comes from the Jews, and that's just ridiculous too. Like I've pretty much had enough of like the every single thing is a Jewish conspiracy. I can grant and get on board with the idea that there are some influential people that are Jewish that really do seem to put Israel ahead of the United States and that really do seem to have like a disproportional impact on things. I can wrap my head around that. But not everything is a Jewish conspiracy. I fundamentally disagree with that. And I think there's more going on than they understand, and if they aren't willing to study their opponent, they're just going to lose, and that's just gonna be the way it is. Like, I don't think any of their plans are gonna come like, I mean, one of the reasons is, like, I kinda laughed this off at this, like, I said this on the stream, like, I don't think they're serious about not wanting women involved, because if they were serious about not wanting women involved, Michelle Malkin wouldn't have been involved in their events, Marjorie Taylor Greene wouldn't have been involved in their events, I would never have been invited onto that stream. Like, it just wouldn't have happened. Nick would have never responded to me on Twitter at all. If you don't want women involved, it is very, very, very easy to not involve women. You just don't do it. But they are doing it. Now they might say, "That's the exception." Okay, well, but you know? And it's the same thing with, like, the Christian nationalism. It's like, "Okay, I understand you want this Christian monarchy and, like, all this stuff, but, like, in reality," and this is not something I would ever probably say to their face, even if they do watch this later, but in reality, it's like, it's not ever gonna happen. Are we ever gonna be a Christian monarchy? No. These people are never gonna win. They're never going to win with how they're fighting. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that not only with the way that they're fighting, not only do they have 0 hope of dismantling the Republican Party, they are never going to get anywhere with the left, with how they're fighting now because they aren't fighting smart. So they can have all the ideas they want. They can have all the pie in the sky ideas that they want. They can be fantasizing about their Christian theocracy, but that's not realistic and it's never going to happen. So why would I get upset about it? They're allowed to fantasize, you know? Let me see. Oh, just scrolling through the chat. Let me see what you guys have to say. Eric says, I don't know if you know, but Beardson is literally the worst representative of the Groypers, though. He's the most unlikable and hated person around Nick. I mean, I don't know any of these people, but I'll talk to like anyone. Well, within reason, there are people that I won't talk to, but like I'll more or less talk to anyone he asked. They had been pestering me, and I'm like, they're going to keep pestering me until I say yes. And so why don't I just like rip off the band aid and get it over with? And it wasn't like he wasn't bad, definitely not as powerful as I am. I could have like he wasn't even like I overpowered him so easily. But, you know, whatever. He was the one that asked. I will talk to people when they ask for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part. Let me see. Most of them are on Fed watch lists anyway. Well, I'm obviously on a Fed watch list. We all know that. Like I got interviewed by the Feds for January 6th. I got fucking audited. Like I'm on some watch list. Especially after the Groyper was arrested for kid stuff. Oh well. Yeah. Yeah. Your statement about their true intent is very interesting. How the racial issues are a distraction is worth looking into for us. So you're a Groyper, right? So you watched. So yeah, I mean, listen, bro. Like, come and watch socialism with us sometime. And this is a something I would extend to all Groypers who are interested in learning. You don't have to take my word for it. You really don't, because I will show you in the left's words what's happening. You can go into the Socialism Saturday archives. You can go into the Happy Hour archives. You can go onto my Substack, which a link is in the description. I've started like clipping videos and putting them on my Substack specifically in the video area. And you can go and listen to them say it in their own words. And then know that of all the clips you see, I have thousands of hours of footage like that. We're not guessing. Like, this is why I kinda like every time Beardson was like, "Oh, I disagree with her." Okay, well, he's welcome to disagree, but he's wrong. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that he's wrong because we have heard them say it over and over and over and over and over again. I'm not trying to play a prank on you guys. I'm not trying to trick you. This is not a trick. I used to see things like you do, and then I saw for myself what they're actually doing. And all of that information is available, and I'll show it to you, and you can ask questions, and I will show you how it connects with everything. Because once you see what they're doing, you can see how it connects through absolutely every single crazy thing that's happening in the world. And then you trace that back, and it all comes from the same origin spot. All of it. And it's not the Jews. Now, I'm not saying that your concerns about the Jews in terms of the disproportional influence aren't valid in their own right, and they're worth considering in their own right. But it's different than what we're talking about. It's not coming from the same place. Marx may have been Jewish, but Marx hated the Jews. We know that Marx wrote it. So you can't always judge people based on their ethnicity, right? You have to actually look into what they said and you have to look into what they put into the world. And Marx put a lot of stuff into the world that we can look at and judge based on face value. And then we can go and listen to the trainings about Marx. We can go and listen to how other people are teaching about Marx. And we can see that it has no relation to how you guys are thinking about it, Groypers. So at some point, when people tell you who they are over and over and over and over and over again, and they're very consistent and they show up the same way every time, you have to believe them. Let's see. I mean, it's funny. Nick yells at his audience just as much as I yell at my audience. I've actually felt, in terms of like watching Nick do his super chats on the end at the end of the show, I've actually felt much more. I feel like I'm way nicer. Like people used to give me so much shit for like yelling at my audience all the time. I feel like I've been way nicer to my audience than Nick is to his audience. Like by a significant degree. So I actually felt rather vindicated. Um, yeah, bot, you actually want me to yell at you. Jesus. Not necessarily. Nick has already called his followers for on his behalf. I remember his meltdown when someone asked him when he called it for, well, what can you do? Let me see. I'm just scrolling through the chat, guys. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think I'm Nick's enemy right now, and I don't really want to be Nick's enemy. I think Nick is very smart, and I think his intelligence and the valuable and correct insights that he has gets overshadowed because of the mound of bullshit that comes with it. And I think it's too bad. I don't want to be his enemy. And even if the Groypers turn out to be like a major pain in the ass, I still don't think it's not my current intention to become his enemy. You know? He can't control everyone on the internet. Sven says Groypers are mostly purveyors of secondhand ideas who, being young and inexperienced, think they've discovered something novel. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's an accurate assessment. Well, then other people need to invite me to talk, Eric. Like, people judge you based on who speaks up, and this is who reached out and said, "Do you want to talk to me?" And so I said yes. I had nothing else I really wanted to do today, and so why not? Let me see. Nick and the Groypers are people who still live in the blood sports era of the internet. They don't care about ideas at all. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that that's definitely true of some of them. I don't know that I would say that that's true of all of them, but I think that's definitely true of some of them. Let me see. Brucey says Nick needs to expand. He knows this. The problem is his audience hazes anyone new in his orbit. I agree with you. I think this is a very big problem. It's quite obvious to me that Nick wants to expand his audience. You can look at his behaviors. He wouldn't be going on all these shows if he didn't want to expand his audience. Like me, like I don't fucking go on shows. It's not that I can't go on shows. It's that like unless I have something important to talk about, like the socialism conference that I think people need to know about, I'm not going to do it because I just like I grew my platform by going on all these shows and things in 2020 and I accidentally grew completely the wrong audience and it has been just a giant pain in the ass ever since. And it's like, I feel like it's such like no one really does what I do. There are a couple people. Like there are a couple people who I would go on regularly, um, if it made sense to do so. But it's obvious to me that he wants to expand his audience. It also seems like he is being more it almost feels like he really does want to transition into like I don't know, maybe he's trying to get himself to be taken more seriously, right? Which he has the intelligence to do, but it's like his audience holds him back, and I was trying to explain this earlier on the stream, it's like, they've been, like, sliding into my DMs and saying, like, "Why don't you just go away quietly?" and, like, all this stuff, and I'm like, "Uh, why?" And it's like and I keep saying, like, "Why don't you want Nick to appeal to new people?" Because, you know, the people in my community are not necessarily opposed to him. I know this because they've had good interactions with the Groypers and, like, they haven't been dicks and people have been playing nicely and all that. So why are they trying to drive people away? And it's like I said earlier, it's like it's almost like they think that if Nick expands beyond their little group of people, that they're gonna lose him. It's like they're very protective over him. It's very endearing in some respects. Where they think that if he it's like they're already these are, like, already, like, the lost, forgotten children of the internet that have all found each other in, like, the lost, forgotten children place where, like, they've all come together and made friends, and they have friends finally because these are incels, they don't know how to function around like normal people, and they think that if he expands beyond the incels, then they're going to lose him because everyone has always turned their back on them, right? He's not gonna be able to expand if he allows himself to be controlled by his audience or if he doesn't start reining this shit in, but it's a heck of a problem, and I know what it's like to transition your audience. I mean, I worked for 2 years to transition my audience away from, like, the platform that I built of the wrong audience in 2020 to, like, what I have now. Totally worth it at the end of the day, man, but it's a slog, and he's got a challenge ahead of him if he actually wants to expand because his audience does just like they do their best even if someone's not even doing anything to drive people away. You're right about that. If you wanna know what I think the Groypers don't understand, then you should go watch the stream that I just did with Beardson. I'm not rehashing it all again here. They just have to watch the last week or so of content to see. The past week or so has been very productive in seeing what the socialists think and how all this stuff. Yeah, we've done some good streams in the last couple weeks, man. There have been some really high quality streams where they've said the quiet part out loud like a lot. And this is the thing though, it's like it's the most frustrating thing in the world, isn't it, Jenny? Because it's like literally all you have to do is sit your ass down and listen. That's all you have to do. But people are so committed to maintaining their groupthink ideology that they refuse to do it. They refuse because the minute that you let in new information is the minute that you have to question everything again, and they don't want to do that. I mean, I held back a lot. I'm talking about just energetically. Energetically, I very much overpowered him, but I was really trying to hold it back, man. I could have been a lot more fiery on that stream. But I didn't want to overpower him. I actually wanted to have a conversation with him. I think I wish that he had been more interested in having a conversation, but it's also a reflection of the fact that this may be the first time that he's ever heard some of these ideas. And so inherently, like when most people hear ideas for the first time, they're going to say no. Because saying yes is a scary thing. Saying yes means you need to reverse engineer everything you know is true. And so I absolutely energetically did overpower him, but like, whatever. Good for him for having a, dialogue. Let me see. Yeah. When I first started participating, Carlin yelled at my comments and then I get decolonized from my conservative programming. You're going to get decolonized from that conservative shit on this channel. I'll tell you what. Nick and Groypers are interested on the JQ and race stuff because no one else is talking about it. Well, that might be, but like I can understand the Jewish stuff more than the race stuff because the race stuff is not reflective of reality. And this is what they need to grapple with. Like they can keep talking about the race stuff just to talk about the race stuff, but it's not reflective of the reality of what is actually happening. And at some point they're going to run into that wall and they can bitch and complain and stomp their feet and call me a fat bitch all they want. It doesn't really matter. They're going to run into that reality at some point and it's just a matter of when. And either they're going to grapple with that now or they're going to grapple with it years from now. Why wouldn't they want to grapple with it now? We'll see. Fuck no white guilt. Fuck that guy. Fuck him. Fuck him every possible way. That guy has done more to fuck up the anti-CRT stuff than like anyone else on the internet. Fuck that asshole. Never will I speak to that guy. This is just false. This is not true. You are living in a fantasy land. I'm not going to argue with you about it right now. If you want to live in a fantasy land, bro, that's your choice. Let me see. Carlin seems to be able to describe their point of view, but they can't seem to explain what she is teaching, whether they agree. Hang on. Carlin seems to be able to describe their point of view, but they can't seem to explain what she is teaching, whether they. Oh yeah, they have no fucking idea what I'm teaching. They have no. They are not. They have not wrapped their heads around it yet. Dr. B, do you reckon it's that they don't want Fuentes to expand? At least he change his views on anything and outgrow them? Maybe. Maybe. It's like. So I used to have this group of women that I was friends with, and I'm not normally friends with women, And so this was a new thing for me. This was, like, the first group of women that I was ever we were, like, all over the all over the country, like, we kept in touch all the time, and it was a new thing, and I was actually kinda like, "Okay, maybe not all women suck, like, whatever." But then so they all worked in higher education, and I left higher education because I was finishing my PhD and I wanted to start my organizational psychology practice and all that, and I started growing out of it. I started hang on. Yeah, James Madison, you're not gonna do that shit in my chat. Cut it out. I started growing apart from them, and it wasn't that like, there wasn't a fight. There was no, like, ill will or anything. I just started growing into my own thing, and I think that that made them scared, and they kept trying to, like, claw me back. And they kept trying to, like, convince me I wasn't gonna be successful, and they kept trying to hold me down, and it was like they were s they it was like they didn't wanna lose me, but what they didn't realize was that in holding on to me so much, it actually really pissed me off, and it really hurt my feelings too, and I was like, like, I'm trying to do my own thing, like, I was pretty successful at it pretty quickly, and they didn't wanna let me go, and it was like, I kinda feel like it's the same thing here, is like my perception, again, this is just conjecture. I don't know this for sure. I'm just going based on what I see him doing. It's my perception that Nick wants to expand his audience. And I agree with you that I think there's something about his audience that like they don't want to let him do that because if they wanted to let him do that, they wouldn't be attacking people who are like saying, "Okay, he's actually doing a pretty good job. Maybe you guys should reconsider what you think about him." Maybe they do think that his views will change. Maybe they do think that he won't go as hard as he's always gone and, he'll lose his edge, like, whatever it is. Um, but, they're only holding him back, which is sad. I mean, because here's the thing, it's like they do love him. They do care about him. They're very protective of him. But sometimes people who are trying to protect us really hold us back from doing what we're supposed to be doing. Let me see. I'm just scrolling through the chat, guys. Does anyone have any questions or anything they want me to speak to? Next time you talk with one of them, ask them if they can explain your point of view. That's a good idea, Eric. I'm definitely going to do that. Yeah, it's very much a crabs in the bucket mentality. Like, what happens when you have crabs in a bucket and one of the crabs falls out of the bucket and the crab is trying to escape and the other crabs pull him back in? It's very much the same. Sorry, just went down the wrong pipe. My hair is looking okay today. My eyes are looking okay today too. I had something I needed to do today to look presentable. I'm not even wearing a hat. See, this is the thing though, bro. This is the thing. Literally no one said this. This is something that the Groypers have been saying to me for the past 2 weeks. If you want to pretend race isn't real, it's hard to take anything you say seriously. I want you to find one instance, bro. Find me one instance where I've said that race isn't real. That's not what's being said. I have literally this is something you guys literally invented. This is not what I've said. This is not reflective of what I've said in any way, shape, or form. So why do you guys keep saying this to me? Why do you guys have such a vested interest in lying and misconstruing what I'm saying and literally making shit up that didn't happen? Try understanding my views and what I'm actually saying, and then maybe we can have a serious conversation about it. Well, this is a good question, Kino, and I did ask this. I asked this on the stream, and the answer was nothing. What have Groypers done to recapture systems of control? Nothing. But here's the thing is and where I will give them credit is like this is a they have a lot of passion. Passion can be channeled productively or passion can be channeled unproductively. And so maybe if their passion can be channeled a little bit more productively, excuse me, maybe they can. I don't know, but they haven't done anything yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but the groypers that are being nice to you on Twitter are groypers with good following and the nasty ones are anonymous. I mean, that might be, but but so there are still good groypers then? Because a lot of them are being very nice to me on Twitter, and I have to acknowledge that. Like, I have experienced far more positive things in the past couple weeks than negative things. I would generally like to keep it that way. I can't hold Nick responsible for everything that every fucking groyper does because it's not he can't control Nick Fuentes cannot control everyone on the internet. I can't hold every single nice groyper responsible for every single evil thing that an evil groyper does because that's not fair. That's judging people for the actions of another person. So, I mean, it's like with anything else, right? Like you have to focus on what's productive and just leave the rest. When Carlin refers to you as bro, it's like when your mother calls you by your full name, you're in trouble. Not always. It's not always like that. Sometimes it's like that, sometimes it's not. Come on. If you talk to Nick, will it just be a friendly convo or a debate? Well, first off, like, he has to wanna talk to me. Like, it's up to him. If he wants to talk to me, he has to ask me. I'm not gonna, like, be proactive about this or anything. But, like, I don't debate. I just don't debate. I don't see the point in it. Like, what is going to be accomplished if Nick Fuentes and I get into a debate? Nothing. No one's gonna be convinced. I'm not gonna be convinced by him. He's not gonna be convinced by me. Like, no one in our and it's like so I would prefer it my strong preference would be to have it be, like, if it ever does happen, and again, like, it's really up to him whether or not it does, my preference would it be for it to be like a friendly conversation and neither of us is really trying to convince the other. We're more so like saying, here's what I see, how I see the world, and here's why I see it, and maybe soliciting new information from the other about like, oh, why do you disagree with this? What like evidence have you seen that contradicts this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a 0% possibility that I'm going to debate him because I just don't do that. Um, if he wants to have a friendly conversation, then he can let me know. Pointing out the communists don't care about race isn't the same as this is exactly right, Groypers. Like, listen, if you learn nothing else from watching this stream, pointing out that socialist, communist, Marxist, which we use the three terms interchangeably because they use them interchangeably, pointing out that communists don't care about race is not the same thing that saying race isn't real. Literally, no one has said that race isn't real. You guys are putting arguments on me that you've heard from other people that I didn't make. So you gotta focus on what's being said, not what you think is being said, because I don't tend to I'm a fucking Aries, man. I don't obfuscate I say what I want to say. We know things as seen through the eyes of socialists on this channel. Socialists do not view race the way that groypers view race. They're two completely different views of the world. That's true. Noah says, let me throw a bone to them. Yes, some racist, here it is racism, but the point is to smuggle Marxist ideas under. Yes, Noah, you know what? You and I have had a lot of disagreements in the past couple weeks. This is excellent. Hang on, I need to take a drink because my voice is dying. The point of Marxists is to smuggle Marxist ideas under the cover of ending racism. That's correct. Everyday Therapist says race exists but doesn't matter except as a way for various groups to use it as a way to create division and chaos as a means to whatever their ends may be. That's correct. I don't even like monk debates. It's like, it's again, like, I don't know. But did anyone really change their mind? Really? They call anyone who disagrees with them a Jew. It's extremely off putting, but that's what they do. Would I rather have a Groyper neighbor or a socialist? It depends. It depends. It depends entirely on that person. If I had a neighbor that was going to dox me all over the internet and spread lies about me, like the Groypers literally threatened to do in the chat, and to copyright strike my channel anytime I say something they don't like, then I would probably rather have a socialist. Because if you're going to harass me for no good reason, you're going to get upset every time I say something that you don't like. There are socialists that I know that don't really care hell or high water if I go against everything that they believe. They don't care. There are socialists that I'm on speaking relationships with that they're hardcore socialists. I disagree with everything about how they see the world, and they disagree with everything about the way I see the world, but they're not doxing me, they're not harassing me, they're not spreading smear campaigns about me, they're not threatening to copyright strike my channel because they don't believe in private property, and that means they don't believe in intellectual property, and so they're not doing that. So it depends entirely on the person about which I would rather have. Just Jamie says, isn't this the goal? Using race and color as a code for capitalism creates conflict and destabilizes the system. That's exactly right, Jamie. That's one of the goals. It's not the only thing that they do, but it is one of the major things they do. And it is the major disagreement that I have with the Groypers. I don't agree with them about the gay stuff either. Like, we didn't even begin to delve into queer Marxism and like, I started going down the abolish the family like rabbit hole, and like Beardson's eyes just glazed over. It was like he was not Beardson was not wrapping his head around the abolish the family stuff and how kids are private property and parental rights and like all this stuff. It was just like, as I was coming out of my mouth, I was like, this is a pointless, don't, he's not going to get this. He's not going to, and to be fair to him, and I'm not trying to pick on him. To be fair to him, like going down the abolish the family rabbit hole is, it is like Fish Addict said in the chat. Beardson was clearly drinking through a fire hose. Yeah, that was like I was like basically taking the fire hose and jamming it down his throat. And he was like, yeah, I don't agree with you. I was like, okay, bro, you don't understand what I just said. I'm sorry. I went way too far. I went way too far down the queer Marxism rabbit hole. So that we need to back up on the queer, and this was honestly a really good lesson for me. Like as I was on that stream, I was like, God, and this is the challenge with everything I'm doing. It's the challenge with breaking down the school stuff for Schools Exposed. It's the challenge for the Substack. It's the challenge for all the videos. It's like I have to go so far back and, like, break everything down in the most minute detail because we are so fucking far ahead on this. I really don't think you guys like, I really hope you understand this, like, we are so far ahead on this. Normal people do not understand what we understand. And there's nothing wrong with being a beginner. We all got put into, like, an advanced socialist immersion program accidentally. And, like, normal people don't understand it because they didn't get put into the advanced socialism program. They got put into kindergarten socialism program. So when we got put into advanced master's PhD level socialism program, they're still in elementary school. And it's like, so now we have to go back and we have to rewind. We have to rewind and break it all down in, like, I feel like sometimes I've got it where I'm at the most, like, the most basic level of detail, and then I'm like, "Fuck. I have to go back and break it down even more." So that was actually going through my mind a lot on the stream. It was a positive exercise in terms of, like, understanding, like, oh, even people who know more than, like, the average bear still don't know that much compared to us. This was the problem in insulating myself in this little space where I wasn't listening to anyone for 2 years. It's like, we are so fucking far ahead, and it's so hard to bring normal people along when they haven't encountered but this is part of why I'm going back and I'm making all this, like, library of clips now, because I can't get people to sit down and watch Socialism Saturday for 4 hours, but maybe I can, like, entice them with, like, here's a clip of them saying whiteness means capitalism, and here's a clip of them saying fascism means capitalism, and here's a clip of them saying neoliberalism means capitalism, and here's a clip of them talking about the creation of the gender binary, and if you're really getting it, like, here's a clip of them talking about how the nuclear family upholds capitalism, and how they're attacking parental rights to get rid of capitalism. I'm trying my best to spoon feed, but man, is it hard. Renan says, and frankly, if all they have is personal attacks, then you've already won. One day they may decide to look at things differently. You didn't do the wrong thing by trying to reach out. I mean, all we can do is try. It's all we can really do. I don't know, bro. I think, like, I don't know. I don't know if anyone changed their mind today or at least was enticed with a new idea, so I don't know. I hope at least one person thought to look at things differently. No, it was on Cozy. I didn't wanna do it on YouTube because I was more what I said to him was, "I don't wanna have to be censored," but what I was really concerned about is I don't know that guy, and I was like, "I don't want you saying something that can get my YouTube channel taken away, bro. I really don't wanna lose my YouTube channel over this. I really, really, really don't." Renan says it seems difficult to break down queer Marxism. Here is the entry point that you need to know about queer Marxism. Queer Marxism. Queer is a far left political ideology that is specifically designed to destabilize the system. The literal definition of queer theory is to go against the norm. So it is a far left ideology specifically to destabilize or go against the norm in society. Start with that and let it build out from there. You have to remember how boring all this socialist talk sounds to normals. Yeah, I get that, bro. I really, really do. And and this is a really great point because I don't know how to present this in a way that isn't like where I don't sound like a fucking boring like boomer conservative talking about like Marxism, Marxism, Marxism. But you got to understand that like when you get into this stuff, it's fucked up. It is the very opposite of boring. It is the most dystopian thing. You will walk into a dystopian nightmare. It's really crazy. Like, you guys wanna see cringe content? I will show you cringe content. Now, that cringe content will be covered in a whole lot of boring. There's like it's boring for a lot of while, and then you like if like okay, so basically like on your average socialism Saturday stream, we watch like 90 minutes worth of socialism content. It usually takes us about 3 hours, right? Because we're breaking it down as we go. You will get about a half hour of the most boring content you've ever seen in your life. And then you get to like 35 minutes and it will be the most mind-blowing fucking cringy shit you've ever heard in your life for like 5 minutes. And then it goes back to being boring. And then before you know it, cringy as fuck. So it's like all of the craziest things that you've ever heard in your life are buried within these boring bookends. And you just need to get through the boring stuff. And then all of a sudden you hit it and you're like, oh shit. So you're not wrong that it sounds boring, and I totally get that, and I don't know a better way to present it right now other than to say these are the socialists that have been in front of you the entire time that most of you never even knew existed because you were focusing on the wrong thing. Yes, what we're trying to do is like trying to explain rocket science to kindergartners. That's really accurate, Ryan. Really accurate. Yep, focusing on race is like focusing on the magician's assistant instead of focusing on the magician. That's right. Kino says you have to spoon feed them as if they're a child like that, not disrespecting them. It's a matter of slowly. And I don't feel like I disrespected them. I feel like I tried so hard to not disrespect them. I feel like I really did try because I really understand. I wasn't trying to play gotcha with Beardson either. Like, I really do understand why they see things the way they do. I just think that they have not been presented with with the information required to really understand what's going on. Well, I know Kino, but I didn't have all the information I needed at Porkfest to do that. Milo says, using race as an excuse is such a lazy way of looking at things. It's ideology and culture. There is no scientific thing as race in humans. It's just culture. Well, I wouldn't put it that way because then we're going to get into the whole discussion of racism. You're saying race isn't real. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all. Carlin, I teach about the levels of cults of knowledge will help creators, preachers, and followers are not all the same knowledge level. Yeah, I know that. All this dystopian shit had me needing to go on antidepressant pills. I got listen, like I got clinically depressed for like at least 6 months. Like clinically depressed. I'm fine now, but the struggle is real, yo. Cuz when you really get it, you really get it. Just Jamie says, Carlin, you're a good teacher. It's a difficult topic. It took me a while to understand. Thank you. I appreciate you sticking with it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then all of a sudden it makes sense. And you're like, holy shit. And this is why, like, I want to go back and rewatch some of the early, like the same things we watched in like the earlier episodes of Socialism Saturday, because we were so fucking new then. We were so new. And it's like, I want to go back and rewatch it with a fresh set of eyes because we already did this with one episode of Socialism Saturday where we went back and rewatched it. And I was like, I got so much more out of it this time than I even got the last time because I speak the language now. I didn't speak the language before. All right, guys, any final questions or thoughts before we wrap up the stream? I disagree with almost you on almost all your stuff, but your socialist videos are very well, how can you possibly disagree with me on almost all my stuff? Because almost everything I'm doing right now are the socialism videos. So how is that possible? The socialist videos are very helpful with understanding the cultural Marxist stuff and interesting. I do appreciate that. I'm trying. I really am trying. Some days are better than others. Well, this is the whole point of Unwoke Art, which is my merch store, is I wanna try to do more with making memes and, like, things that people can wear and stuff like that to teach people. Yeah, you can start the stream again. If you go to Cozy, he did have it under the replay section, but like the chat's not going to be the same. So on Cozy, the chat operates in real time, whereas the stream, the chat operates separately from the stream. So the chat is like perpetual on the channel. So you're not going to be able to see the chat in the same way, but like it's a weird feature. I don't know why they do it that way. People like Beardson and Warzelroot are not intellectuals. Well, that's very clear to me. They're entertainers trying to create. This is like their obsession with content. Content, bro. Content. It's good content. It's good. I'm like, yo. Again, everyone has their thing. I'm not judging them. That's their thing. They're allowed to like that. But I was like, this obsession with like, gotta get content, gotta get content, gotta get content, gotta get. It's like there are higher purposes in life, boys. Maybe you'll find them someday. This is my only YouTube membership. Essential info here. Thank you, Liza Jean. I appreciate it. Illustration Station said, this is grad school level shit, Carlin. You're crushing it. I appreciate that. Victor must be super supportive. Yeah, I couldn't do any of this without Victor. That's for sure. Question: does socialists really care about who is the next president? No, they don't care at all. They don't give a fuck who the next president is. They don't care at all. The real socialists don't believe that they are going to be able to achieve their means through political ends. That's why they took over institutional power rather than focusing on political power. So and they hate Joe Biden and you know, they might like it if Bernie was president. I think they'd be but a lot of socialists don't like the democratic socialists and they don't like Bernie because Bernie's too close to capitalism now. But I think that like it'd be one of those things where like they wouldn't be upset if Bernie was president. They'd probably be or like AOC, like they hate AOC as a general rule, because they think AOC is too corporatist. But like, would they be upset? No, they try to use it to their advantage, but like they don't really care. They don't really care. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me for the debrief. I hope people enjoyed the stream. If you watched it, if not, you can find it on cozy.tv under on Beardson's channel. I don't know what the direct link to that is. I'm sorry, but you can go on there and find it. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's all we have for tonight. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you soon. Bye.